The flow, kick the flow, kick the flow, kick the flow, kick the flow.
That won't be the case in our family.
In terms of, I think the last time we speak 3 or 4 times a year, and I think the last time we spoke, you were having specific challenges through things that people just hadn't thought about in relation to, I don't know, working from home, access to online services. Just elaborate a bit on that for me.
So I think COVID, specifically for me, has highlighted how inaccessible the world still is for me as a blind person. So, for example, when I go into a shop or a supermarket, I access an assistant to give me a hand. And obviously in COVID times, that wasn't able to happen until specific guidance was given. Things like schooling, my children are sighted, so they obviously learn, they don't read Braille, so none of their study materials are accessible to me. And because my children are not disabled, then the school do not have an obligation to make things accessible for us.
In terms of this survey and how you felt before COVID, were you feeling as though you were making a contribution, making an impact, a valued member of society? And how did people treat you as an individual?
I think I've been incredibly lucky in that I've been able to find employment, and I think if we're going to get into the mechanics of it, I think that's one of the biggest things that's still a massive barrier to disabled people. I can only speak from a visual impairment point of view, but 75%, Eddie, 75% of all working age visually impaired people are unemployed.
Yes, I know that's a fact.
And many of those people are very well educated people, and even though there is an access to work system, which means that the employers do not have to pay for very reasonable adjustments. They may have to make a contribution sometimes, but they don't pay for all of the reasonable adjustments. This still is a problem.
In terms of, do you, stupid question number 2. Do you meet, discuss, having groups? Is there a community that you involve yourself with?
There's a massive visually impaired community. I mean, not massive in terms of numbers, but there are lots of us who, we have like mum, there's a very active blonde mum Facebook group that I'm actively participate in, and then there's Facebook groups for everything, guide dog ownership for employment. But unfortunately, the more things that are taken away, the resources because as a blind person, I wasn't able to at 14 or 16 get a Saturday job to learn what the environment of work is like. I went straight from secondary school to college, to university, then was expected to get a job with no understanding of what that actually meant. How was I meant to dress? What was I meant to do? How do I interact with people?
Here's one of the few questions I haven't asked you, and I've asked you quite a lot. How did your parents raise you? I only ask because my guest earlier on, Mick, was telling me that, mum and dad were kind of like, but he wasn't in a wheelchair at first. They were quite encouraging of him being, in inverted commas, a normal school. When I talked to her dad at the time, he was quite clear that his parents were cutting no slack for him, and they wanted him to do as well as any probable Nigerian parent would want their child to do. In terms of you, what were your parents like at all?
So my parents are Indian. I would say my primary school years were very much, my parents did not accept the fact that I couldn't see. I was taken to